Imagine a color. A deep, earthy red, the color of iron-rich soil after a rain. Now imagine an entire people, their identity, their spirituality, their very name to outsiders, defined by that color. This is the story of a nation painted in ochre and the haunting silence that followed. I'm Ibnul Jaif Farabi, and this is Echoes of the Ancients. For thousands of years, on the island they called Wananjawat, the windswept, forested land we know as Newfoundland, thrived the Beothuk. They were a people apart, both geographically and culturally, isolated from the continental networks of other indigenous nations. Their world was one of caribou hunts and salmon runs, of ingenious conical houses called mammotiques, and of ocean-going canoes sealed with spruce gum. And they covered everything, their tools, their bodies, their dead, in a sacred powder of red ochre. To European fishermen and settlers who glimpsed them, they became known simply as the Red Indians, a label that would tragically outlive the people themselves. Their first sustained contact with Europeans was a portent of what was to come. The Viking settlement at Lance aux Meadows, 1,000 years ago, left archaeological evidence of a meeting, or a clash, between the Norse and the people they called Skrælingr. But that was a brief, cold encounter. The true end began with the seasonal fishing fleets from Portugal, France, and England, starting in the 1500s. These crews didn't come to settle. They came to harvest the cod-rich waters. But they needed to dry their catch on land, and they began to occupy the very same coastal bays that were the lifeblood of the Beothuk, who relied on the sea for vital resources. Slowly, inexorably, the Beothuk were pushed inland, cut off from their coastal sustenance. It was a death by 1,000 cuts, the loss of crucial fishing grounds, the accidental introduction of European diseases, and the theft of vital tools and equipment from summer fishing stages, which the Beothuk would sometimes take, seeing them as unused resources. The settlers saw it as theft, and retaliation was brutal. This cycle of mistrust and violence spiraled over centuries. By the late 1700s, the Beothuk population, never large, was collapsing. They became spectral figures, glimpsed fleeing into the interior by settlers. The few attempts at contact were bungled, rooted in fear on both sides. And here, history becomes personal and heartbreaking. We know the names of some of the last Beothuk, not from their own stories, but from their capture. A woman named Demistut was taken in 1819 in a violent raid that killed her husband. She was later called Mary March. Though treated kindly by some, she died of tuberculosis a year later while her captors were trying to return her to her people. Then, in 1823, a starving young woman named Shanawdithit was taken, along with her mother and sister. Her mother and sister soon died. Shanawdithit, the last known living Beothuk, would live for 6 years in the home of a settler, William Cormack, who founded the Beothuk Institute. She shared what she could, drawings of her people's way of life, words from her language, fragments of a world. She died in 1829, also of tuberculosis. With her, a continuous cultural thread stretching back millennia was severed. I think about Shanawdithit's drawings, which survive. They are not just artifacts. They are a final testament, a message in a bottle from a vanishing shore. As an engineer, I am in awe of the Beothuk's ingenious adaptations to a harsh environment. As a storyteller, I am devastated by the silence. Their story is a stark lesson in the fragility of cultural isolation in the face of relentless expansion. It's a reminder that history is not just about what was built, but about what was irrevocably lost, leaving behind only echoes in the red ochre stains on ancient artifacts. We are left with that profound color. The red ochre was a celebration of life, a spiritual protection, a marker of identity. It ultimately became their epitaph. The Beothuk are gone, but their memory challenges us to listen more closely to the echoes of all who came before. This has been Ibnul Jaif Farabi. Echoes of the Ancients is a production of Light Not Studios. Visit us at https://www.lightnotstudios.com.